Okay, we'll probably just start from here, I think. Just before we kick off, just a couple of things to let you know, just some small bit of housekeeping. If you have any difficulty seeing the screen whatsoever, you should be seeing my slide here for BarScan 50, just for if you don't know. If you select view, select focus on content, or there's also view, more options, and full screen. You'll see the screen a little bit better. We will be recording the session here today, and it'll become available shortly after we're done. So if there's anybody that you had in mind that wanted to take a look at the actual demonstration, feel free to share the link afterward. So let's get to it. So good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to today's webinar. My name is Howard Murphy from DB Computer Solutions. I'm the Business Development Manager, and I'm absolutely delighted to have you join me today. Today's session is all about BarScan for Sage 50, and specifically how it extends your existing copy of Sage 50 with traceability capabilities that are becoming essential for businesses operating in regulated style environments. Now, if you're working in pharma, just let this person in. My apologies for that. Should have stayed on top of that. Oh, we got them in anyway. So if you're working in pharma, medical devices, food production, or any sector where the HPRA requires traceability audits, this is particularly relevant to you. We're going to cover three things today. First, I'll walk you through how BarScan delivers full traceability and how you can be compliant with regards to HPRA checks on top of Sage 50. You will also cover elements of batch tracking, serial tracking, and complete audit trails. Then we look at the broader kind of BarScan feature set, goods in, goods out, stock taking, barcode capture, and all the warehouse management tools that integrate directly with Sage and all that good stuff that Sage does straight out of the box, or that BarScan does out of the box with Sage. And finally, I'll give you a live demonstration so you can see it all in action. We've got about an hour together here, so there'll be plenty of time for questions here at the end. Typically, a BarScan demonstration only lasts about 25 minutes or so. So if there's anything that you want to talk about, feel free to sort of type your questions into the chat as we go, and I'll pick them all up. So let's get straight into it. So let's start with the headline here, traceability. This is why a number of people are here today, and it's the area where BarScan really extends what Sage 50 can do for you. So BarScan gives you full batch and serial number tracking from the moment goods arrive through every stage of your warehouse, right through to dispatch. Every scan is logged, every movement recorded. You've got a complete chain of custody for every single product. Now, Sage 50 on its own doesn't give you this level of traceability. It's great accounting software, but when the HPRA come knocking on the door and ask you to trace a specific batch back through the supply chain, Sage 50 alone won't give you entirely what you need. BarScan fills that gap for you. And that brings us to the HPRA compliance. So if you're in a sector regulated by the Health Products Regulatory Authority, you already know that the traceability audits are not optional. The HPRA can and do conduct inspections, and they expect you to be able to recall a full history of any batch, where it came from, when it arrived, where it was stored, who handled it, and where it went, and so on. So with BarScan, all of that data is captured automatically as your team works, so there's no manual data entry, no spreadsheets, no scrambling before the audit. When an auditor asks for a batch history, you just pull it up in seconds. So complete, accurate, and time-stamped who did what, where, when. We passed, a number of checks with some existing customers already, and found no difficulty. The rapid batch kind of recall capability is really key here. So if there's ever a product recall or a quality issue, you can identify every affected unit instantly. That's not just about compliance, that's about protecting your customers and your business. And the beauty of it is that this all sits on top of your existing Sage 50 system. So we're not asking you to rip anything out or change your accounting system. BarScan connects directly to Sage 50, extends its functionality effectively with these traceability features, and you don't need any additional Sage licenses to run it. So to summarize this kind of section here, BarScan gives you independent batch and serial tracking that goes beyond what Sage provides natively. It makes you HPRA audit ready from day one with complete chain of custody records and real-time stock visibility with a full audit trail. Now, let me just talk briefly on the full range of what BarScan does outside of the actual traceability element. So the top left here, you see, this is how BarScan handles traceability, HPRA compliance. So that's the general stuff we just spoke about there a moment ago. But the day-to-day warehouse operations, goods in, when stock arrives, your team scans it with a handheld device. It's logged in BarScan, pushed straight into Sage. There's no paper dockets, no double keying, goods out. Same process in reverse, pick, scan, dispatch, every movement's captured. So stock taking becomes a completely different experience with BarScan as well. So instead of printing sheets and counting with clipboards, you can still do that and you can work with them, but your team walks through the warehouse with a scanner, they scan each item, BarScan reconciles it against what Sage said you should have, and discrepancies are flagged there for you to sort of monitor and so on. If products arrive in without barcodes, you can assign your own internal barcodes. You do need to register for your barcodes, which we can talk to you about. BarScan handles it. Any stock adjustments can be made on the fly from the handheld, write-offs, corrections, whatever it is you need there too. On the sales and ordering side, you can check stock pretty much immediately just by scanning the actual stock item itself on the warehouse floor, and it instantly gives you the current stock level and information around that stock item. Really useful for if anybody walks in the door and you just want to just scan the item. Both purchase orders and sales orders can be generated on the fly. So for instance, with the purchase orders, if your team knows the stock's running low, they can scan the item and generate the purchase order right there in the handheld device. What I would say to you is that the purchase order authorization still transgresses through to Sage 50. So it is handled from there. People have control of it there. They can effectively draw up, I suppose, for all intents and purposes, a requisition. The sales orders, so your sales reps or your warehouse team can build an order as they walk with the customer through the warehouse, for instance. So you can just bring up the customer record, scan each item, and just pick and dispatch the stock live alongside what they're doing there as well. And sort of critical to all of that, of course, is that you have a live link directly in with Sage. You don't need any additional sort of Sage licenses there to run BarScan. There's no batch uploads, no overnight synchronization. It's all pretty much done live. We can also link with some of the major couriers. We've done it with DPD, Fastway. I have in there, of course, they're no longer there, but we can actually integrate your couriers directly to it, which I'll sort of point toward later on. And then, of course, you can produce your own barcode labels for your products, your shelf locations, or anything else you need labeled in the warehouse. So that's the full feature set at a glance. I'm going to give you guys a look at the actual system here in full. I think what we'll do is I'll just highlight the differences between using Sage 50 alone and what BarScan looks like first of all. Just bear with me for a second. I think someone has Rory, could you do me a favor? Could you knock your mic off first? Thanks very much. You're very good. So what I'm going to do is just allow me to share my screen here on a very familiar screen that you will be with anyway, which is our Sage 50 screen. So a couple of things I just draw attention to here. So typically, if you're running any kind of purchase order, sales orders directly on the system, and you're receiving goods in or you're sending goods out, you typically would generate your purchase order. You'd walk around with the actual printout. You'd be marking down the stock. You'd be manually entering it into the system. So effectively, BarScan extends that kind of process out to the actual handheld itself. So what I mean by that is that there's no paperwork involved, and it's a live it's a live thing that you're doing with the system itself. So what we do here is we'll generate an actual purchase order for stuff, just like you would typically. I'm going to keep this very simple, and I'm just going to use one of our traceable items here. So I'm just going to put one in here just to show you exactly what way that works. So I'll order it now. I don't want to print that order, and you'll see up on the top here, you can see that the stock item is on order, and I'll just draw your attention to the fact that this is purchase order 65. So we do have a console for BarScan, but I'm just going to walk through the initial process here in the very simple way that you should do it with BarScan. So what I've got is I have my handheld here that's available. This is BarScan, and it's on an Android device. And as the stuff comes in the door, I can have a screen out at the goods in area, which effectively highlights all the purchase orders that are due in for the day, so that you can actually just scan from the screen, or you just have a sense of what's coming in that week, or you can just work with it straight up. So in this case, I'll just go into my purchases if I'm at the back door, and I'll go PO goods in. And what I can do is I can actually get a list. I can scan the order if I want to, but in this case, I can actually pull it there, and you can see that it's 65 is in there. So I can select that. I can put in a delivery reference if I want to as well. And then I can select it, and then it will bring it in like this. Now I can do a couple of things here. One of the things that I can do is I can actually scroll to the right, and I can manually enter in the actual amount that I've received. Of course, you're using a handheld scanner here as well. So what we can do is we can actually pull up the specific barcode, which I'll do here, like this one. And what we do is just jump back to the one that I had. Just bear with me for a second. So what I can do is I can scan that actual code. You'll see it'll pick it up there automatically, and you'll notice on the actual label here that you've got a lot code, or you've got a lot of information in there as well. So it's bringing some of that information in. If it already pre-exists, it's going to bring it on the actual barcode. What I can also do is that I can actually allocate a code to it on the fly if I wanted to. So I can actually capture the actual barcode from here, and it will pull in a different barcode for that device with the lot number and the traceability information in there as well. So in this case, I'm just going to save my actual goods received in, close that, and that's it. That's effectively it. So I can go through a list of individual sort of items, and I can show them all pulled in. On Sage, what you'll see is you'll see the orders complete. That stock has now come in, and it's hit my stock on my stock levels. But on BarScan, which is the utility that other people can actually view here as well. I'll just show you here now. On this screen here, this is BarScan. And what this has done is that it's gone through the actual purchase order element of it. This is where I can see my PO goods in here too. But what I can see from this point of view here is that I've got within my in my transactions here, my traceable transactions, you'll see there's the goods that have been brought in at that point. So this is effectively what I was talking about with regards to the audit. So I can run a lot number, I can run a serial number, expiry date in here. You can see I have the created date, the time, the individual that was involved in it, and all the other details. So the lot number that you saw there on the screen, all covered in there as well, and the reference that I recorded it against also. Now, just to highlight some of the differences between sort of Sage 50 and what you see in BarScan. So BarScan effectively replicates, it's a live link to your existing stock. So you can see all of your stock items all directly in here. What you'll also notice is that we have a couple of additional columns in here to indicate what's lot tracked, what tracks on dispatch, what tracks on receipt, all of that information in there. If we're looking at our courier fix that we saw here earlier on, we just have is tracked, which means that it's got full traceability, which is tracking on receipt and on dispatch. But for any of these stock items, we can change the stock settings. We can make that adjustment in there. We can say that this stock item typically has an expiry date, or it has a serial number. We can put in some serial options in there as well, effectively to track everything that we actually need. What you'll also see is, aside from the actual general kind of stock items in there, we can see the separate traceable stock alongside the normal stuff that we have there also, which shows the actual stock in place there. Another bit of detail there on our stock levels also. And like I mentioned earlier on, as opposed to Sage does allow you to actually track an actual barcode against it. But what you can do here is you can have multiple barcodes per single stock item, which effectively allows you to record the different barcodes with the different traceability information. So you'll see the courier fix one that we had down here. You'll see the individual barcodes appearing down in the bottom. So just to point to that as well, both 2D, 3D barcodes, QR barcodes, well, they're data matrix codes are what they're typically called. It'll accept any of those, and you can scan them with the actual scanner, and it'll pull that information up. If you are looking at the actual handheld, what you also have on the handheld here is effectively you can run an inquiry on any single stock item. So I'll just try and move this to the side here, and I'll try and scan from the screen. So if I use a stock inquiry in there, I can scan the actual barcode. See it from my screen here. And you can see there the information around the stock. So it tells me I have 6 in stock, which I can tap, and I can see the lot and batch number that's associated with those. I can also see what's on order. So if I tap that, it shows me the purchase orders with that stock item that's attached to it that are due in. And if I have any sales orders that are generated, it will show me what if that's been allocated to also. So just to show the other side of that as well, what we'll do is we'll jump back to Sage 50. If we go in here and just show you on the other side of things, if I go into my sales orders and I sell it to a client, and we'll use the same one just to show the flow of it. And say save that. And typically what you're doing here as well is that, you know, it just even with the standard kind of sales order picking and dispatch, what you're doing effectively here as well is you're printing this stuff off, you're picking the stock items, carrying around the piece of paper, then you're marking it for dispatch, then you're manually feeding it into the system, you're printing off your docket. If you want to, you can actually run through the flow of this very, very quickly. You can actually have BarScan open and through the actual sales order process. Now, I haven't done it here because we want to do some quality control, but effectively I can go into my sales order. I think this one is 63, isn't it? I go into my pick and I can either key in the number, or I can scan it, or I can just find it from here and I can bring it in. I can pick and dispatch the actual stock item automatically. Once I do it, I could be at the back end of the warehouse. I could scan it, it completes the order, adds the traceable stock to it, and it will print the dispatch note. So by the time I actually walk back to the actual goods out area, it's all ready for me to stick on the side of a pallet or a bag or whatever it is. So in this case, what we're doing is we're just fulfilling the actual sales order. I can see some further information in there where the order date was the 16th of the 4th and it was edited and so on. So I can see some information there as well. And again, I can do the same thing. I can either scan it. Actually, in this case, what I'll do is I'll just show you how we can actually pick this from here. And I can do that. Now, if it's a case that you have different serial numbers, or if it's a case that you only sort of track on dispatch, what you can do is you can actually, when it comes to dispatch itself, it will allow you to add in from a list of codes as well. So there are ways in which you can actually edit it in the actual process, and we can block that too as well, just for that. Now, in that case, we've actually picked the stock item. And then what we've done is, and back on BarScan, what I will show you is that back on BarScan itself, if I go to BarScan here, what you'll see is that down here, we'll go to our sales orders and pickable items. So these are the items that are being ready to be picked. Then, like I just did there a moment ago, it picks the actual stock item. And what you'll notice here on screen, it shows me the date, the time that all carried out through this process. But you'll see that it's highlighted here to indicate that it's traceable stock that's being managed here at this point. Jumping back to the actual handheld, I can then go and dispatch the goods. So obviously, look, from a quality control perspective, we prefer that you do it in this order, that you know, somebody's picking, somebody's dispatching, so you're verifying this stuff going out the door. But in this case, what we're going to do is, or what you can do is, like I said, you can do it in one fluid motion. In this case, we're just jumping into the actual order, and we're now going to dispatch the goods. So when I go, and then I can scan the item itself just to be sure, to make sure that it's the batch there. Or what I can do is, like I mentioned earlier on, is that I can choose from some preset lots or serial numbers against the item here, like I'm doing, and I can select that. So I'm verifying that this is the batch that's going out the door as well. So it's just another level of doing that, and I can confirm that. And that's it done. So what has that done? Again, just to jump back to the actual the traceable transactions, you'll see there, that's where we receive the goods in, that's where we dispatch them. You can see the flow of it here, and if I wanted to actually put in the actual batch in there, 551, you can see that I can get my list, I can export that, I can print it off, and so it's fully audit ready here, so I can see all that information. The other thing that you can also see in here also is that on the handheld, if I had, say, stock item that was returned, I can simply just go into my stock adjustments. I can go stock in return, and then what I can do is I can put an actual reference on it first of all, and I can just select that, and then I can actually scan the stock item again as it comes in, and I can say it's only one of them has been returned, and again I can indicate what that lot serial number is here also, and say it's that one, finish, and then in it comes. That's it, done. So again, if we were coming back to our traceable transactions, you'll see there that I've taken stock back in there, and it shows me now. If I wanted to, I could have put in the reference. That's what I should have done as to the reason why it was. You can see I've put in return recall for some of the others here also. And that's typically how the traceability kind of aspect of it works. Now we can talk to you in a little detail. That's it in a general nutshell, how it works from start to finish. Even on Sage 50, Sage 50 just doesn't have the capability of recording that actual information. But what you will see is that even if I go back into my products and services in here, and I take a look at my product item that I was just working with, and I can check the activity, you can see it's actually recorded the batch numbers in there. You can see the stock movements that are in there. You can see where it's been adjusted, goods out, goods in. All of that is effectively recorded in here. And what I should have pointed out to you as well, that on the actual, on the dispatch note, as goods are being dispatched from here, you'll see that if we are printing an actual dispatch document, you'll see it retains the traceability information specifically for that stock item also. Now, what I haven't said is we can put some restrictions around this stuff as well. You can work with individual bin locations, or, you know, it's just another method of whereby if you indicate where the actual stock has to be chosen from, it has to be picked from there, and BarScan will block the individual if they try and pull it from somewhere else. So it's just another sort of safety feature for that also. Other areas here I'll show you is that you can do, like I mentioned earlier on, you can do ad hoc stock takes. So if I was walking around the floor, if you see my handheld again, I can do ad hoc stock takes. So where you could do sort of a very big general kind of stock take. In some cases, we've sorted out some of our clients with a bunch of handhelds just for a particular weekend, just to sort of get this kind of work done. But to be honest, one of the methods that we sort of preach when we go through implementing sort of BarScan is that we ask people to do ad hoc stock takes sort of fairly regularly. So if you have somebody in over the summer, or somebody who has some spare time, 10-15 minutes, we'll effectively tell them to head down an aisle and just go and pick stock. So for instance, they can walk down, do a stock take. They can scan each item as they go. I know, I'm sorry, I keep using the same product item, but it's nice and handy that way. And I can go in there and I can say, you can see here it's not telling me exactly what the count should be as I walk down. But if I put in 8 in there, for instance, and mark that down and indicated what batch it was, finish that, I can say yes, finish that, say yes. And you'll see then it eventually updates from my actual stock take here. It gets fed in, and then I can indicate, I can look over it, I can check it, and then what I can do is I can post it to Sage, and it reflects that back in Sage in the stock activity as well. Of course, you can run, you can report or you can dump information from here, but just for the sake of it, you do have that information available in Sage 50 also as a result. So it'll eventually come in here as part of an actual stock take. It's just taking its time to come in first of all. The other thing that I haven't sort of got to here yet is the fact that what we can do is we can allocate barcodes against if you have a racking system in place or multiple bins in there as well. You can actually scan the stock in and allocate it to that specific section. One of the key things about ourselves when we're implementing BarScan is that we're not just dumping the software. So we'll effectively call out, we'll survey the area with people on our side who effectively have a good knowledge of warehouse systems. So they'll engage, take a look at everything, give you the black and white of your existing sort of setup, and then we'll give you a plan as to how we will actually kick off. And that plan usually revolves around making sure that you get all your labels done properly, first of all, that the stock is organized, that you have a proper flow through the actual warehouse itself. But every customer is different. We tend to get through everything with them the first time around. What you can also see here as well, I should point out, is that I mentioned earlier on about the setup of this. So you'll see in here that we have a number of configuration options in here as well, where we can scan a BOM if you have components, and it'll hoover in the other elements of that as well. What you also have in here is, where is it gone? Sorry, I meant to mention it there. This is the courier integration aspect of it. This one's hooked up for DPD. So effectively what that means is, as opposed to printing off the dispatch document, it dumps a file that goes directly into the DPD system, and then it'll print off its own label, inform them how many parcels they're picking up, and then that's it, and it just follows through. What we can also do as well here is that we can also set your email up with it. So as the stock is being dispatched, you can actually have an email go directly to the client to inform them that it's being prepped and ready and it's been sent out the door. So effectively you can have that once it's all complete. And then the only other item here that I would sort of allude to is the fact that we can integrate with the projects module in Sage 50. So if you're using the projects module, which is effectively the old sort of job costing, all that means is that when we're moving stock, as opposed to dispatching stock through the normal sort of sales order process, what we can do is we can actually issue it to an existing project on your actual Sage 50. So the cost of the actual stock item is allocated directly to that particular project for billing at the end of the month or whenever it is that you actually bill that specific project as well. So other than that, that's effectively the run through of what BarScan does for Sage 50. We try and keep it as simple as possible so that we actually effectively sort of just hit the mark on what's necessary, really, what's missing from Sage 50 from a stock movement perspective, a traceable perspective throughout. And what I would say to you is that, for anybody who's actually genuinely interested in it, we're very happy to organize a one-to-one session. We can go through some of the specifics. I know some people will have questions around quarantine as well, which we do have a solution for, but it varies from client to client, the specifics of what they're trying to achieve. One of the other things that I will point out as well is that one of the restrictions of Sage 50 is the fact that it's not multiple location, it's only single location. It's something we are making adjustment for in BarScan going forward. So we will be announcing when that release will become available, but effectively it'll mean that you can actually work with multiple stock locations. The ones that I have highlighted here are multiple stock locations within your warehouse, but we're looking at expanding BarScan 50 to handle multiple warehouses and multiple stock locations within those warehouses themselves. So what I would say to you is, if anybody has any further questions, or if it's a case that if you are looking for a one-to-one session with ourselves, you can get in contact with me, send me your information through howard@dbcomp.ie. Or if it's a case that if you want to, you can give us a bell on 061 480 980, and we can have someone have a chat with you as well. So what we'll do is I'll just wait for a few minutes and just see if we've any other further questions, just based on what you've seen. And then we'll sign off and we'll send over some other information. So we get a question in here from me. What happens when we receive different products in the same purchase? It still works the same way. I know I only showed sort of one stock item there. So effectively what happens is that as you scan each one, if it's a case that it's a different code, for instance, you can capture a brand new code. I'll give you an example of that actually. So if I give you my screen here and I say I go into my purchases, I'll just pick one of these. Let's see if I have one in here already. I probably prepared some stuff in here earlier. Let's have a look. So I'll try bringing that one in. I think it's the same item. So like I said, what you can do is that I could have multiple products on the one screen, and it's as I scan them, it scans each individual one alongside it. If the code isn't recognized or it's a brand new sort of batch, what you can do is, let's see if I have one of these ready here. So these are just some examples of some GS1 barcodes here, for instance. So what I can do is, you'll see here, I can capture a barcode. So what I can do is I can scan that stock item. I'll just see if I have it on paper here. I might make it a little easier just for the scanner. So I'll just scan it there. And you can see there, what I've done is I've scanned this one down here. So you can actually see down at the bottom that specific barcode and that actual information in there as well. So it's showing it alongside it here, and it will add that barcode to it in perpetuity. So if it's ever scanned again, it will know it's just that specific one. Yeah, it is possible to receive different products in the same purchase. Yeah, sorry, again, it's just the case that just for simplicity's sake, I just used one product code, that's all. But yeah, more than happy even to take a sample of some of your own kind of stock, your own kind of barcodes. We can go through a one-to-one demonstration, show you how that works as well. What I will say to you is that some people, when they come to it, the initial kind of phase of it is that there's a level of donkey work, obviously, that you have to go through in order to sort of make sure that you have your barcodes allocated against all your product items. A lot of suppliers are very good with stuff like that. So if you actually ask it of them, what they'll do is they'll send you a text or a text file or a CSV file, and we can show you how you can actually import it against the existing product codes that you have. Obviously, it's easier if your product codes reflect directly what your suppliers are giving you, but even so, there are other ways in which you can manage that also. Even though, like, for some clients, it might take a little bit of setup time on their side, what effectively happens is that even when we install BarScan, it will integrate directly with your current copy of Sage 50. But to make sure it's accurate, some of the first things that we ask you to do is to run a stock take using the barcode scanner. So, you know, it's a low level training that's required in order to get people fully up and running on the system in general. But even when we install it, first of all, We can show you how to walk around the warehouse, even though you may not have barcodes on them. You saw that when I was actually choosing stock, I had the ability to be able to sort of just pick the stock from a list, or I can add on different things. So I can even add on a barcode as I'm going anyway to do that. So there's a couple of things you can really do well in advance to prep. And the whole thing is that once we understand that the barcodes are in correctly, you've done your stock check, we go through the process, we configure it a little bit so that certain screens are relevant to you. But then effectively the training is minimal. You saw how simple it was for me to use the actual handheld there and get through the sales and purchase orders. It is literally that simple, the way it's supposed to be. But there's no paperwork. It means that because you're actually scanning the stock in straight away, there's no delays between the two, so that your stock is as accurate as it's going to get with that system. And of course, you know, if you factor in the traceable element of it, you're not sort of wasting time on the spreadsheets either. That a lot of people are doing in existing copies of Sage 50, that they're actually keeping a manual sort of list of it. Some of the other things I should have mentioned to you earlier on, I mentioned we can print off things like barcodes as you go as well. So if I have a stock item and you can use a hip printer, or you can have something, you can print them all off. We have a method to the way that you would follow it around the actual stores or warehouse in order to make sure that the correct ones are on. We can also sort of bring in sort of tried and tested processes within your industry and what we've actually done previously with other clients, and we've learned from other clients as well. In how we actually mark the areas so that it's more efficient. You can do wave picking here as well. You can effectively walk down with multiple orders and pick them as you go. There's lots of different ways in which we can make the process simpler. And one of the other things I will highlight to you is that BarScan here is dedicated specifically for Sage 50, but we do have other solutions around the Sage 200 product as well, and other products such as Sage Intacct too that we can introduce also. So I haven't had many other questions. I'm trusting I did a bang up job, and I hope I did answer all that you have. Before we sign off here, absolutely please reach out, send on any other queries that you may have that you think of afterwards. We will send everybody a copy of the link once we've actually got it up and running on the system as well. And look, thanks a million for everything. Thanks for being here today and giving me your time. I appreciate it. And look, hopefully I'll talk to you real soon. Thanks again.
Thanks, Howard. Thank you, everyone.